Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might sting a little bit, but it needs to be said. Ain't nobody coming to save you. Nobody. Not your mama, not your friends, not the government, not your boss. It's on you. I know that's hard to hear, but it's the truth. And truth don't care about how you feel, it just is. The sooner you grab hold of that, the sooner you start building the life you were born to live. Self-reliance is the foundation of real success. When you understand that no one else is responsible for your life, your future, or your goals, you begin to unlock a mindset that separates winners from wishers. From the moment you stop waiting for someone to come and save you, guide you, or fix things for you, a new energy begins to take over. It is the energy of ownership. And with ownership comes clarity, direction, and power. You start to realize that all the excuses you've been making, all the reasons you've been holding back, they don't matter anymore. Because the only one who can truly move you forward is you. Life isn't fair, and it doesn't promise to be. There are people born into privilege and others born into struggle. But what determines success is never where you start. It's always how you respond. And the only person who can choose your response is you. When you rely on others, you give away your control. You put your future in someone else's hands. Whether it's waiting for a family member to support your dream, a friend to validate your idea, or a boss to finally recognize your potential, you trap yourself in a place of helplessness. That's a dangerous place to live, because the longer you wait for permission, the more time you waste. The more you expect someone else to lift you up, the longer you stay on the ground. But when you make the decision to stand on your own, even if your knees are shaking and the ground is rough, you begin to grow. You begin to discover strength you didn't know you had. That strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from pressure. It comes from moments where quitting feels easier, but choosing to keep going becomes your discipline. People talk about motivation, but motivation is temporary. What's lasting is responsibility. When you look in the mirror and say, this is on me, my future is mine to create, something changes inside of you. You start treating your time differently. You stop scrolling for inspiration and start working for transformation. You stop blaming others and start building yourself. You stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the right mindset. Every single successful person you admire, every story that inspires you started with someone who made a choice to take control. They might have had support later, but their journey began when they said, I will do this. No matter who helps, no matter who doubts me, no matter who leaves, I will make it happen. Self-reliance doesn't mean you never accept help. It means your foundation is built on your own determination. It means you don't fall apart when others walk away. It means your goals don't collapse when someone else doesn't believe in it. It means your success isn't dependent on anyone else's effort. That's real freedom. That's real power. And that's what separates the people who dream from the people who do. There are people out there with less than you, facing harder battles than you, doing more than you, not because they had more resources, but because they took responsibility. They stopped looking around and started looking within. They trusted their own hands, their own voice, their own fire, and that decision, the decision to trust yourself, bet on yourself, to believe that you are enough even when everything around you says otherwise. That's the first step to creating a life that doesn't just survive, but thrive. Waiting for help delays progress. So many people waste years of their lives hoping someone will notice them, discover them, invest in them, or simply lend them a hand. They hold back on starting their business because they're waiting for the perfect investor. They delay their dreams because they think they need approval from family or friends. They convince themselves that once circumstances are better, or once the right person enters their life, then they'll begin. But life doesn't work like that. The moment you delay action in the hope that someone else will make things easier, You put your own destiny on pause. Progress is not built on waiting. It's built on doing. It's built on the moments when you show up for yourself even when nobody else does. While you're waiting for someone to support your dream, someone else out there with less support is already building theirs. In every field, in every corner of the world, there are people doing remarkable things, not because they had the best help, but because they decided to start. They understood that the world owes them nothing. They didn't sit around wondering if their efforts would be noticed. They took the first step and then the second and kept moving regardless of who clapped for them. Time doesn't wait for anyone. The longer you hesitate, the further behind you fall. Opportunities rarely announce themselves. They don't come with a guarantee. Most of the time, you only recognize them in hindsight, and by then, they've already passed. The harsh truth is that your potential means nothing if you never act on it. And action is almost always inconvenient, almost always uncertain, and never perfectly timed. Sometimes we convince ourselves that waiting is wisdom, that we're being patient or strategic. But there's a big difference between preparation and procrastination. If you're endlessly researching, planning, or perfecting because you're afraid to begin, that's not strategy. That's fear in disguise. You have to be willing to take imperfect steps. You have to be willing to look foolish, make mistakes, and learn as you go. Because the person who moves forward messy will always outpace the one who stays still waiting for perfect conditions. Every moment you spend waiting is a moment someone else is using to grow. And when you finally decide to start, you may find that you're not just behind, you're starting in a race that's already far ahead. It's important to understand that no one is obligated to help you. People are busy building their own lives, solving their own problems. If help comes, be grateful, but don't depend on it. Don't structure your dreams around someone else's schedule. Take ownership of your journey. Build with what you have, not with what you hope someone will give you. Every delay rooted in dependency becomes a barrier to your potential. The hunger to succeed must be greater than the comfort of waiting. Movement, even slow movement, is better than stillness disguised as strategy. Your struggles are your training ground. Every hardship, every setback, every failure you encounter isn't just something to survive, it's something to learn from, to grow through, to use as fuel. People often try to avoid pain, thinking that life should be smooth in order to be successful. But that's a myth. The truth is, struggle builds strength. It is in those lonely nights, those moments when everything feels like it's falling apart, that you are actually being shaped for what's coming. It's not the easy days that prepare you for greatness. It's the hard ones. It's the days you feel like quitting but still choose to keep going that form the character necessary to handle real success. Just like muscles grow through resistance, so does your mind, your discipline, your vision. There is no shortcut to the top that avoid the valley. Everyone who's ever achieved anything worthwhile has scars to prove they earned it. Pain introduces you to parts of yourself you didn't know existed. When you're tested, you discover your real level of patience, your depth of resilience, and your commitment to the goal. When everything is going right, it's easy to be positive, it's easy to be motivated. But when you're broke, rejected, or alone, that's when your real hunger is revealed. That's when your dreams are truly tested. And only those who keep walking through the storm ever get to see the sunshine on the other side. People often pray for strength, but reject the struggle that produces it. You don't get stronger by staying comfortable. You get stronger by facing the fire, walking through it, and refusing to let it break you. That's why your struggle is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of preparation. What most people call problems are actually training sessions. Life doesn't send you difficulties to destroy you, it sends them to refine you. You're being prepared for levels you've never seen, for responsibilities you don't even realize are waiting for you. But that kind of growth doesn't happen in ease. It happens in adversity. When you can face rejection and still believe. When you can go unnoticed and still work. When you can be doubted and still show up. That's the mark of someone who's not just wishing for success, but working for it. Struggle humbles you, focuses you, and sharpens your vision. It teaches you not to rely on applause, not to seek approval, but to anchor yourself in purpose. The process may hurt, but it builds you in ways nothing else can. The next time you feel like your life is hard, remember you're in the gym of life. You're lifting heavy now so you can carry greatness later. You're being tested now so you can be trusted later. And the more pressure life puts on you, the greater the capacity you're developing. This is not punishment, it's preparation. The struggle you face in the day is the strength you'll use tomorrow. Every successful person once started alone. That is a truth often hidden behind the spotlight of success. When you look at someone who has achieved greatness, it's easy to think they always had support, always had a team, always had opportunities lined up for them. But what you don't see are the silent seasons, the lonely beginnings, the unnoticed efforts, the sacrifices made when no one was watching. Behind every celebrated moment lies a long trail of quiet determination. The first step towards success is often taken in solitude, and it is in that solitude that true resilience is born. People don't achieve greatness because they were surrounded by applause. They achieve it because they kept moving even when there was nothing but silence. The early stage of any journey are often the most discouraging. You start out with a dream, a vision, or a goal, and in the beginning, there's no fanfare. No one is checking in to see how you're doing. No one is offering praise or encouragement. That's when most people quit. When it feels like nobody cares, nobody believes in them, and nobody's coming to help. But the ones who push through those moments, who keep building even when no one's looking, those are the ones who eventually stand out. Success does not arrive at your doorstep while you're waiting for approval. It shows up when you've proven that you're willing to move forward with or without an audience. There's a unique kind of power in starting alone. It forces you to listen to your own voice, to trust your instincts, and to build confidence from within. You learn to be resourceful. You become your own coach, your own motivator, your own accountability partner. While others wait for someone to walk with them, you realize that walking alone gives you speed, gives you strength, and gives you space to grow. Every minute you spend building your dream by yourself increases your capacity to lead others when the time comes. The world notices results, but the foundation is always laid in private. But if being alone at the beginning is not a weakness, it's a rite of passage. It means you have chosen to do something that others are too afraid to attempt without backup. It means you have enough courage to start before you're ready, to move without permission, and to trust that clarity will come with motion. Most people never get started because they're waiting for the perfect partner, the right timing, or enough resources. But those who make it happen are the ones who begin with what they have, where they are, and with no guarantee of success. And because they had the guts to walk that lonely road, they become the ones people eventually follow. Easy to admire people when they've already made it. It's harder to emulate them when you realize how alone they were at the start. But that loneliness is where the magic happens. It sharpens your purpose, deepens your discipline, and separates you from the crowd. It's where your identity as a leader, a creator, or a dreamer is formed. Excuses don't pay bills or build dreams. Every time you make an excuse, you trade your power for comfort. You allow a reason, no matter how valid it sounds, to stand between you and the life you say you want. Excuses might make you feel better in the moment, but they rob you of results. The truth is, life doesn't reward intentions, it rewards action. You can talk about what you were going to do, what you almost did, what stopped you, or what held you back, but none of that changes your situation. If you want progress, you have to replace your excuses with discipline. There is no shortcut around that. People who succeed aren't excuse-free, they just excuse-resistant. They feel the same pressure, the same fears, the same doubts, but they act anyway. When you look at people who have accomplished great things, you'll find that most of them had every reason to quit. They had financial struggles, family problems, health challenges, self-doubt, and rejection. But what separates them from the rest is that they didn't use those reasons as permission to stop. They used them as motivation to push harder. They understood that the world isn't going to pause just because life gets tough. The bills are still due, the clock is still ticking, and the dream doesn't wait for your excuses to expire. Either you find a way or you stay where you are. That's the truth most people avoid because it's easier to say I can't than it is to admit I won't. Every excuse is a story we tell ourselves to avoid doing the hard work. I don't have time. But you have time for distractions. I'm not ready. But readiness comes through experience, not before it. I don't have support. But most success stories begin in isolation. These stories feel comforting because they shift responsibility away from us. But they also strip us of the power to change. You can't change what you don't take ownership of. The minute you stop justifying your lack of effort is the same minute you start gaining momentum. You may not control every circumstance, but you absolutely control your response. Excuses are easy, but nothing great has ever been built on easy. The reason excuses are so dangerous is because they sound so reasonable. They often carry a little bit of truth, just enough to convince us we're being honest. But partial truth still leads to full stagnation. You might not have everything you need, but you have something, and that something is enough to begin. Progress doesn't demand perfection, it demands persistence. The world is full of talented people who are stuck because they refuse to stop explaining and start executing. You don't get paid for what you almost did. You don't get applause for what you plan to do. Results come from action. Even small steps taken consistently outrun the biggest excuses repeated daily. You can either keep defending your limits or start breaking through them. You are the hero of your story. No matter what you've been through, where you started, or what challenges surround you, the power to shape your future lies within you. Too often, people wait for someone to rescue them, hoping that a mentor, a partner, a lucky break, or some outside force will swoop in and change everything. But real life doesn't work that way. No one is coming to rewrite your story. That pen is in your hands. The people you admire, the ones who broke barriers, rose from the ashes and turned nothing into something, they weren't saved. They saved themselves. They stood up when it was hard, moved forward when it was lonely, and believed in their mission even when no one else did. Being your own hero means taking responsibility even when it's uncomfortable. It means doing what needs to be done whether you feel ready or not. It's not about perfection or having all the answers. It's about refusing to stay where you are. Heroes aren't people who have no fear. They're people who act in spite of it. They don't let failure define them or delayed defeat stop them. They fall, they struggle, they break, but they keep showing up. That's the heart of a hero: resilience, grit, and a decision to fight for something greater than their comfort. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need a crowd to start. The world may not believe in you right away, but your belief in yourself is more powerful than any approval. Every time you get back up, every time you keep going when you could quit, you're proving to yourself that you are more than your circumstances. You are capable of leading your life, of building your vision, of changing your reality. That mindset separates people who live by design from those who live by default. Every obstacle you face becomes part of your origin story. Every challenge you overcome builds your legend. And it's not about waiting for the perfect moment to begin. Heroes aren't born in ease. They're made in the fire. When you stop looking outward and start digging inward, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. You'll discover that the most important rescue mission was always the one you lead yourself on. You'll realize that the courage to change, to fight, to rise was never outside of you. It was always within. Choosing to become the hero of your life means you take charge of growth, your healing, your goals, and your identity. You no longer wait for things to improve, you improve yourself. You no longer ask for a way, you create one. And once you do, you inspire others to do the same. Because when one person stands up and takes ownership of their life, they give permission for others to do it too. Your story isn't waiting for someone else's help, it's waiting for your action.